Welcome back to Critic. Today, I wanted to talk about Joel Webbon. We all know about this pastor. He's fraud. So we've heard of this guy before. A lot of racist things being said about mostly black people, and misogyny kind of goes hand in hand with that when it comes on to pastors these days. So let's take a look at the latest controversy with Joel Webbon. And I think in this particular video, he spoke to Ruslan KD, who happens to have a black wife, a white man. He's in an interracial marriage. And kudos to him. Let's hear an excerpt from their message or their debate.
I think it's unwise to genocide the entire European.
It's an emotional argument.
An extreme.
You're backdooring emotionally charged language to make the white kids who watch this feel like their job.
You could just say, I think it would be tragic if white people perish from the face of the earth.
No.
That's not an emotional.
I would also say the same. And it would be horrible if white people perish from the face of the earth. That's different.
You notice the emotional language that he uses. Perish. That means to get wiped out. If you're dating interracially and your kids are now more white or more dark, or your kids are lighter because black people marry white people, your race is not perishing. You're simply, I guess you're diluting your race, but perishing means to destroy or kill, especially when used in this context.
But if interracial marriage was normative, came to the point, if you guys, it grew and grew and grew in popularity, and you guys said, hey, there's nothing in the Bible against this. If it grew to 50, 60%, European people would over generations. They just would. So we're saying that's a lot.
None of us will be here, bro.
You don't want it. I don't want it.
Here's the thing. He's talking about European people because that's all he cares about. If everyone was to interracially marry, there would be also the perishing of black people, the perishing of, well, let me stop using his dumb language. Whoever this guy is. There'd be no one set race. There'd effectively be no Indians, no Chinese. There'd just be like one mixed race. Kind of like Latinos or Latinas. They're very much mixed. There's just a spectrum.
None of us
So
will
let's
be
walk
here.
back
None of us
that.
will be here. Go ahead.
Wait,
Look exactly like you.
that's like a Hezekiah move. Hezekiah hears that bad things will happen after his lifetime. Hezekiah's the original.
No, I'm saying I
It won't happen in my lifetime, so I don't care.
respectfully, if we're being honest, I don't think either of you are going to care if your grandkids or your great grandkids are mixed. I really don't think this could be an issue.
Possess the
If you-
nation that was
no, no, no.
gifted to them.
Yeah, that's an arbitrary definition of nation. We already agree that there's nations that are mixed ethnic that exist. So you guys being down the road, your grandkids, your great grandkids, and one of them is white, and one of them is mixed, and one of them married a Spanish guy, and one of them married, you guys aren't going to care. Like, be honest. You're not going to get. You're going to love those grandkids. You're going to see the image of God. You're going to see yourself in them. You're going to celebrate what God is doing through them. You're going to celebrate the Christian heritage that you laid out for them as the primary identity markers. This stuff's not going to matter in generations and generations.
He's completely right. The most important thing is that your legacy, your spirit, your mindset, your culture. And I think this is where culture and race, I think some people think they're synonymous, but we can be of the same race and have a very different culture. We can be, in fact, I think there's maybe a culture that's maybe in the society, and we also have our own intrapersonal culture, how we do things and live our lives. I listened to a few different arguments about this, and there was one that really stood out to me, and I wanted to show you guys exactly who it was. Before I do that, let me check if there's anything else I'm leaving out.
You guys familiar when the word race even made it into the English language, approximately?
16th century.
Yeah, 16th century. That's relatively modern, right? So if we're going to rail against the leftists and the liberals with their definitions of gender and and all this nonsense that we're seeing from the left, this is a relatively modern innovation for this broad cast of, hey, there's blacks and there's whites and there's Asians and then maybe a couple of others, but we don't know. Again, it falls apart because it's way more based on ethnicity. This is why we see tribes warring in parts of Africa. This is why you tell a Persian they're Arab and they're going to be very upset.
That's true. That's actually a good point. Ethnicity is more important than race. When you think about it, Persians are, I think, white. Italians are white. There's many different kinds of white people that don't necessarily share the same customs and cultures of the white people from America. In fact, the white people on the left, and there is some craziness going on the left, it's not reflective of maybe the culture that the people on the right would partake in. And for me, the right wing is just fucking racist. I'm sorry. They're just racist, bro. They're just like a majority of them are racist. So I criticize the left for doing some crazy loony crap when it comes down to gender and girls and boys sports, but the right is just racist. Anyways, I digress.
Upset at you. You tell an Arab they're Persian or a Turk, they're going to be very upset at you. Distinctions is way more cultural and nuanced.
In fact, go to a Mexican person and tell them that, hey, or let me rephrase, call a Mexican a Colombian or call a Colombian a Mexican. I played football with him for years. It's one of the most disrespectful things you could ever do. And these are guys that are technically of the same race. Latinos are mixed, but they hate that, bro. You can't do that to them. They'll get upset. So I think ethnicity is a big deal. And I think ethnicity kind of has a culture to it as well, but it gets a little tricky.
Than just these very broad categories. You guys understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Part of the reason I would say that race has, at least the concept, I think it's old, but at least the word has come into more regular use in language in recent times is partly because of the radical changes that we've made in the world. Back in the day, when you
Okay.
say this person is of this nation, it tended to mean that he's of the same biological characteristics, cultural characteristics. But now, because people have moved and we have tons of people over here and tons of people over there and all the now it's if somebody says, well, I'm American, then the natural question is, well, what kind of American are you? What kind of
That's interesting. That goes back to what I was saying because people with different politics, let me just give an easy example, have tremendously different cultures. They're two different kind of Americans. The Americans that believe kids should transition from the age of like 4, 5, 6 is a different American than maybe somebody more conservative who thinks that that should be an adult decision. That's a different culture.
American? If I can't see them and I can't detect an accent in their voice, and they're just saying, I'm an American, and I can't see them, I wouldn't really have a clue.
Right. So do you see how it's arbitrary then? Saying I'm an American is no different than someone saying I'm white. What does that even mean? Which white? Irish, Scottish, Italian? There was hierarchies within white folks when they came over. So
Exactly, which white? That's a very good question.
what does that even mean? Are Armenians white? I don't know. It depends on who you ask, right?
Another good question. Some people would say Armenians are white, but they do tend to have a darker hued skin.
So are Armenians like
And they tan
these
better.
categories are way more divided when you travel outside of the United States.
Anyways, guys, I think that's a good little psychological, kind of perusing your brain for different thoughts. Ruslan KD is a very smart guy, for sure. He's a very smart guy. He has some great content. Definitely check him out. Following him immediately. That's how much I like this guy. He's he's in an interracial marriage. I'm not sure if I can find a picture of his wife, but his wife is black. And they're a very beautiful couple as well. Able to find any pictures, but of luck to this guy. He's a great guy, and there are really good pastors out there who are preaching the right thing, and this is one of them. Okay, now I want to talk about this guy, Brother Oz. I think he made an amazing argument that kind of think a lot, and he gave his take on how Joel Webbon might be conflating race with culture, and it could be beneficial, I guess, if all the cultures, everybody who was white had the same culture. But the real issue is that there are many white peoples with different cultures that are not the ones that our forefathers built. So I really found a lot of value in what he said. Definitely follow this guy, give him a like, Brother Oz. I really enjoy his content. I'm not gonna watch the whole video, but I do want to watch a clip where he talks about Germany, West and East Germany, and North and South Korea.
I'll get into a debate about interracial marriage. And I disagreed with everything Joel said, except for one thing.
Same here.
So, just to give you guys a little context, this debate went viral. Ruslan, of course, is married to a black woman, and so he has a little bit of stake in the game. Joel Webbon is saying that interracial marriage is.
By the way, this man is married to an Iranian woman, so he's also in an interracial marriage.
Not normatively good. He's not going as far as to say this is a sin, don't do it. But he is saying this is not normative. If everyone did it, the universe would be a worse place. So I'm going to try to steel man for the next 10 minutes
Interesting.
Joel Webbon's position because I actually think there is one thing that he has gotten right. And I think it's essential for us as Christians, particularly Christians that speak English, Anglos, my fellow Anglo Saxons, those of us who live in Canada, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, America, there is something that we've forgotten that we need to know. So if I was to try to steel man Joel Webbon's position, the first thing I would say is we have forgotten that cultures carry enormous value. And I'm saying
That's fair.
genetics, right? You can take two groups of people that are genetically similar, take East and West Germany or North and South Korea. And the fundamental difference between the two is not just government, it is culture. In South Korea,
Yeah.
you have a high trust society. You can leave your laptop on a cafe table and you can expect to come back in a day and no one's going to steal it. Whereas in North Korea, the average person is so fearful of their neighbor, so distrusting of their neighbor that they would never allow their child
Sounds like New York.
to go out of the house without giving them a strict warning. Do not mention any conversation we've had, anything you've seen inside the house. Don't mention it to the neighbor. Don't mention it to your friends, because anybody can be a government informant. Here you have two people groups that are genetically similar. They speak the same language, and yet they literally live on different planets. And
Yeah.
if you somehow had a magic wand and you traded the places of all of the South Koreans and all of the North Koreans in one instant, the first thing the South Koreans would do would be to overthrow the government and institute a liberal democracy, because that's their culture. That's what they know. Or a better example might be East and West Germany. 35 years ago, the Berlin Wall fell, and you had the communist side and the more Western liberal side. And to this day, there are lasting cultural effects. One side is legitimately different from the other side. On the Western side, you can work at a company and you can be very bold and creative. You can speak up in a meeting and you can say, I have an idea. And people will be like, oh, that's so great. He's so assertive. On the east side of Germany, if you speak up in a meeting and you have some creative idea, people are looking at you sideways going, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to jockey for position?
Isn't that interesting though? Isn't it interesting how we can live in the same country but have such different cultures? And that's the part of this where I can't believe I'm saying this. There's an aspect of what Joel Webbon is saying that may be true about culture. But what his mindset is, because he's a racist, it's very skin deep. It's at surface level, which is our skin. So this guy is saying that it doesn't matter what your race is. What matters is what your beliefs, your norms, your values, your system of beliefs and values. That seems to be the most important thing. And I can get behind that. That makes sense. Because if we take two people who, in fact, your religion, your politics, extremely important. Two of the biggest things that will destroy a marriage is marrying, or, well, will do my marriage to fail, is marrying somebody who's of a different religion or who's of different politics. These are two big, and these are really heavily influenced by your intrapersonal and also the culture of the society. So this guy makes a lot of sense to me.
Are you trying to say that you're better than other people? They have the tall poppy thing. They're suspicious of people who put themselves out there too much.
Mhm.
In Western Germany, you can tell your mom, hey, mom, I'm going to go backpacking for 6 months and then I'm going to start an app or a software company. And she'll be like, go ahead, son, that sounds great. But in Eastern Germany, it's like, do your homework, eat your vegetables, don't trust anyone, don't speak up. If you have an idea, shut up and keep it to yourself. You have one side of the country that is ants in a colony working together, and you have the other side of the country that is crabs in a bucket, where if any crab tries to get above the other crabs, they all pull the other one down. And
So that really struck a chord in me. Like, think about it this way, guys. Culture is not just food, like location, I guess dances, like how you dance and music. Culture is so much more deeper. It's your norms, your value system, belief system, and your mentality. And was just a good example. And also, like, a high safe versus high unsafe environment. If you're really gonna find that finding a mate that share the same cultural norms that you're used to, that you can have different personalities, but the cultural norms, the mindset, beliefs, mentality, crab in a barrel versus ants in a colony, I think it's extremely important. Yeah. And that's, I think, maybe what the right thing to do is to marry based off mindset, mentality, beliefs, value system versus, but with Joel Webbon, I think he's trying to disguise this all as just skin color. That's the biggest problem to him.
Fundamental difference between the two is really simple. On the east side, 1 in every 60 people was a government informant, but on the west side, that wasn't the case. This shaped the culture, and even now, 35 years later, even though that Berlin Wall has fallen, there is still a tangible difference between one side of the country and the other. My point is, no matter what your genetics or your race is, living in a high trust society as opposed to a low trust society where you can trust institutions, you can leave your laptop in a cafe, you can leave your bike unlocked, you can leave your front door unlocked, you can walk
Yep.
down the street trusting that you're not going to be stabbed, you trust in politicians that they're not going to be corrupt, you can present an idea in a meeting without being seen as suspicious, you can tell other people that you want to start a company and be creative and rich and self-expressing, and they'll encourage you instead of discouraging you. These are cultural technologies that can disappear in a second, and they're extremely valuable and important. Nobody wants to live in a place where everyone is suspicious of everybody else. And if you Google the top 10 highest trust,
That is a great point. Though the fabrics that make up certain cultures, for example, I would say Jamaica is a low trust society, and that's an aspect of the culture I don't like. Unfortunately, there's poverty, and there's other different aspects and elements that if I was to leave my laptop somewhere, I'm not gonna find that back there. It's kind of surprising to know that in Korea, and also I've been to some parts of America, New York, I've experienced that same thing too. You can't leave nothing nowhere, it's gonna be gone. But it's just like imagine the benefits of a high trust society and how that could help productivity and also results of that country. I definitely can see where somebody wouldn't want to lose that by getting people who are of a different society or that would, or like, how I said, getting people who would create a, getting people in the culture, marrying someone that would create a low trust society. So I can see the benefits of that.
countries in the world. Tell me if you notice anything about this list, okay? Sweden,
Okay.
Denmark, Norway, Finland, Netherlands, Iceland, Switzerland, New Zealand, Canada, Germany. They're all cold. They're all
I think he means white. Majority white. Okay. It seems that being these countries are white, and it's probably synonymous, I guess, with high trust societies. Unfortunate realization. But let me see what else he says.
do. Do you know what I noticed about everybody that's on this list? It's not their skin color. Okay. Yes, I know they're all white.
We we know they're white, bro. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It happens to be true that they're all white. It's true.
I get it. I get it. Every country on this list is not just Christian, but specifically Protestant Christian. Now, it is an unfortunate coincidence of history that Christianity dominated Europe. And so people associate white people with Christianity and Christianity with white
Hmm.
people. People are always going to do that. It's an unfortunate reality. But that doesn't mean that white people and Christianity are the same thing. There is, of course,
Yes, that's a good distinction. And how Christianity is practiced in different places is so different as well. But now I kind of I'm seeing that despite Joe Weber being a racist, I can see where somebody wants to preserve their culture. But I think there's a difference between preserving your culture and preserving your race.
The immediate concern of causation correlation. Is there anything that you have to support the idea that this is not just a coincidence of what we're living in?
It's a really, really, really strong correlation. It's such a strong correlation that you can just go through history and read, okay, when Protestant Christianity touched a country,
Mm,
better or worse. So if you Google right now, what are the top two richest countries in Africa? You'll get number one, Nigeria, and number two, South Africa. Nigeria was a British colony, and all of her institutions, so parliament, the rule of law, policing, school, the whole system was built by English Protestants. And then in the case of South Africa, you had the Dutch that came down, and again, they were majority Protestant, and they built a
interesting.
really, really wealthy civilization at the tip of sub-Saharan Africa. So I know it's probably inflammatory to say the word pattern recognition in the context of this discussion, but it really genuinely is just reading history and going, okay, when Protestants touch a place, does it get better or worse? And history indicates everything gets way, way better when they do. It's not to say it's perfect, like Protestant.
This is So I watched the whole thing. I'm not gonna put the whole thing in the video, but this is really interesting. I think definitely check out this guy. He explains the whole concept of culture and race in such a respectful, honest, cheerful way. And if you want extra insurance that he's not a racist, he's married to an Iranian. So yeah. But he is white. I guess that might cause some distrust when black people see that some a white man talking about topics like these. But I think he makes very good points. I really do. And we all know how racist Joel Webbon is, but yeah, we all know how racist he is. In any case, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on the video. I would love to have a discussion about this in the comments. I'm always so interested in these kind of things. And as I explore my faith, I am always wondering what's the next step. Um, I'm having some serious trials in my faith, and I would love to understand more. It's kind of hard when I see pastors being racist, but the psychological conversation that I have throughout my time about God, about race, about culture, it's definitely progressing. And I look forward to hearing your comments. All right, guys. I'll see you guys later. Thank you.